Listen to this. You can read all the books, watch all the videos, and repeat 1,000 times that you love yourself. But if you don't understand this, the love you seek will always remain out of reach. Today, I won't give you theories. I will give you the key that no one has told you about, the one Carl Jung discovered, which will forever change the way you relate to yourself and others. Are you ready to discover it? If you're here, it's because something inside you knows there is more. It's not just about accepting your shadow or balancing your energies. It's about how to bring these concepts to a practical level that creates real change in your life. And today, you will discover that. By the end of this video, you will not only gain a deeper understanding of why you have struggled to feel loved, but you will also receive a clear, practical strategy to transform your relationship with yourself and, as a result, with others. This is not just theory, this is action. But before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. We are growing fast, and we apply what is discussed in these videos, so do it now so you don't miss any future content. And I encourage you to watch this video until the end, because today you will discover something profound. Now let's begin. Your relationships are not mere coincidences. Everything that attracts or repels you in others is a reflection of something unresolved within you. Think about the last person who made you feel strong emotions, whether love or frustration. That person is more than just another individual. They are a mirror reflecting something within you. Perhaps you are drawn to people who make you feel insecure, or maybe you feel frustrated by those who display qualities you reject in yourself. Today, you will learn how to use this mirror to understand the parts of yourself that need attention and healing. Until you do this, you will keep searching for love in the wrong places. The question is not, why is this person behaving this way? But rather, what is this person revealing to me about myself? The concept of relational mirroring is deeper than it first appears. When someone triggers strong emotions in you, you are experiencing a projection of your shadow. Observe the patterns in your relationships. Do you find yourself repeatedly drawn to people with certain traits? Or do you constantly avoid a particular type of person? Both cases are equally revealing. Attraction and aversion are two sides of the same coin, both pointing to something important about your inner world. When you feel a deep attraction towards someone, ask yourself, what qualities do I admire in this person? Are these qualities I have not yet developed or expressed in myself? Perhaps you admire someone's freedom and spontaneity because you have lived a life of extreme order and control. When someone greatly irritates you, ask, what exactly is bothering me about this person? Could it be that I possess this same trait but have denied or suppressed it in myself? Maybe someone's arrogance bothers you because you struggle with feelings of superiority that you are ashamed to acknowledge. Doing this work of self-understanding is transformational, but it requires complete honesty. You must be willing to see the aspects of yourself that you have hidden, even from yourself. It is through this recognition that true healing begins. Often, the most difficult relationships are our greatest teachers. The person who triggers you the most may be precisely the one helping you uncover essential aspects of yourself that need attention. It is no coincidence that they appear in your life. They are karmic messengers guiding you toward self-integration. Remember, we are all mirrors for each other. Just as others reflect your traits back to you, you also reflect theirs back to them. This understanding fosters empathy and responsibility in your interactions. When you realize that the other person is reacting to their own reflection in you, you can respond from a place of understanding rather than defensiveness. The true goal of this work is not merely to recognize patterns, but to transform them. When you identify which part of yourself is being reflected in a problematic relationship, you can begin to heal that part by integrating the aspects you have rejected or have not consciously developed. At that point, your relationships will start to change naturally. This process of integration is gradual, so do not expect immediate results. Observe your reactions as if you were a curious scientist without judgment, but with genuine interest. Over time, you will notice that the people who once triggered strong reactions in you no longer have the same effect. Healthier and more balanced relationships emerge when you do this inner work, and you will begin to attract people who reflect your integrated and healthy aspects rather than your unhealed wounds. You will no longer seek others to fill what you lack. Instead, you will create connections based on mutual wholeness. True love can only exist after this journey of self-knowledge. When you love from wholeness rather than from lack, your relationships become spaces for mutual growth rather than emotional dependence. You will no longer need another person to fill your voids because you are complete within yourself. That part of yourself that you reject is what sabotages your relationships. You cannot love fully if you do not accept all that you are. Think about the things you do not like about yourself, the things you try to hide. Those are your shadow. Until you integrate them, you will continue to project your fears and insecurities onto others. For example, if arrogance in others angers you, there is likely a part of you that fears being perceived as arrogant. Or if you are drawn to people who make you feel small, it may be because there is a part of you that does not feel worthy or strong enough. Here, you will learn how to integrate your shadow, not to be perfect, but to be whole. Because only when you accept all that you are can you truly love and be loved. The shadow is not only the negative aspects within you, it also includes your unrecognized talents and abilities. When you reject parts of yourself, you divide your being, creating an invisible barrier that prevents you from achieving the deep connection you long for. This internal division causes you to seek in others what you cannot accept in yourself. Every time you judge someone harshly, you are standing before a mirror. The trait that bothers you most in that person is a reflection of something you have not yet accepted in yourself. Pay attention to your strongest reactions there. You will find the most important clues. Perhaps you despise weakness in others because you fear your own vulnerability. Or maybe you criticize excessive ambition because you have not allowed yourself to acknowledge your own desire for success and recognition. Your shadow also appears in your emotional attractions. We are drawn to people who freely express the aspects we suppress within ourselves. If you find yourself deeply attracted to dominant people, ask yourself, is there a part of me that wants to express more power and authority? If you always seek relationships with people who need to be saved, you may be projecting onto others your own need for care and attention. Self-sabotage in relationships happens in subtle yet persistent ways. Perhaps you fear abandonment, so you push people away before they have a chance to leave you. Or maybe you fear control, so you resist any suggestion from your partner, even if it is reasonable. These patterns are not coincidences. They are defense mechanisms of your unintegrated shadow. Integrating the shadow requires courage. First, you must be willing to see it without judging yourself. Each time you feel a strong aversion to something in another person, ask yourself, where does this exist within me? Not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself more deeply. Integration also requires expressing repressed aspects in safe environments. If you have suppressed your creativity, seek spaces where you can express it freely. If you have denied your need for connection, allow yourself to be vulnerable with people you trust. Little by little, these rejected parts will transform into sources of strength rather than hidden obstacles. A powerful exercise is to write a letter to your shadow, acknowledge its presence, thank it for its attempts to protect you, and share your intention to integrate it with compassion. This internal dialogue can be the beginning of a deep reconciliation with yourself. The beautiful paradox is that when you accept your darkest aspects, you become brighter. When you embrace your imperfections, you become more authentic. And this authenticity is what opens the doors to genuine connections. The deepest and most fulfilling relationships arise when two people come to each other as whole beings, having integrated both their light and shadow. You no longer need your partner to complete you because you come as a complete being. You no longer project your fears and insecurities because you have embraced them as part of yourself. Your relationships are not just meant to make you comfortable, they are a space for growth. Every conflict, every interaction, every disappointment is an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. In this session, you will learn to see love not as a destination, but as a path to self-discovery. Because until you understand this, you will keep repeating the same mistakes. For example, if you always end up in relationships that make you feel abandoned, it is because there is an old wound of abandonment that you need to heal. And if you are always looking for people who give you a sense of security, it is because there is a part of you that does not feel secure. Here, you will discover how to use love as a tool for growth, rather than as a goal that causes you frustration. When we see love only as a source of pleasure and comfort, we lose its deep transformative power. Relationships are the most intense classroom in life and the clearest mirror of our inner world. Every person who enters your life carries a specific lesson, and until you learn that lesson, the same pattern will repeat itself with different faces, but the same essence. Emotional patterns are not coincidences. If you look at your romantic history, you will find threads connecting experiences that seem outwardly different. Perhaps you always end up with emotionally distant people, or maybe you always find yourself drawn to those who need rescuing. These patterns are invitations to self-reflection signals, pointing to internal wounds that need to be acknowledged. Attachment theory teaches us that our earliest bonds shape patterns that repeat in adulthood. If you learned as a child that love was unstable, you will unconsciously seek the same pattern in your adult relationships because it feels familiar, even if it is painful. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward changing them. The true purpose of romantic love is not just to make you happy, though happiness can be a beautiful outcome. Its purpose is to reveal aspects of yourself that would have remained hidden otherwise. In intimacy, your deepest fears, defense mechanisms, and unexpressed desires come to the surface. When a conflict arises with your partner, the most valuable question is not who is right, but what does this reflect about me? Perhaps your intense irritation over a simple comment reveals a deep insecurity. Perhaps your need for control hides a fear of abandonment. These discoveries are treasures for those who seek growth. Attractions are also teachers. You are drawn to people who embody aspects of yourself that are not yet integrated. If you strongly admire someone's freedom, it is likely that you have an inner desire to live more freely in your own life. If you are captivated by someone's creativity, there may be an artist within you waiting to be expressed. Your strongest attractions are maps leading you to your unrealized potential. Emotional disappointments, though painful, they are exceptional opportunities for growth. When a relationship ends, you have two choices. Either blame the other person and repeat the pattern, or look inward and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? The difference between these two responses determines whether the experience will make you more bitter or wiser. Mature love does not seek perfection in the other, but rather mutual growth. Partners in this type of relationship are not only concerned with their individual happiness, but with their evolution together. In this kind of relationship, every challenge is welcomed as an opportunity to expand, to break limitations, and to heal together. Paradoxically, when you embrace love as a tool for growth, happiness comes in a deeper and more lasting way. You no longer depend on ideal circumstances or the perfect partner. Instead, you find fulfillment in the process of evolution itself, in discovering yourself more profoundly through the mirror that the other person provides. Change begins when you stop repeating statements like, "I always end up in relationships like this," and start asking, "Why do I keep choosing partners like this?" This shift in perspective restores your power. You are no longer a victim of fate or other people's actions, but rather the conscious creator of your romantic experience. Embracing love as a path for growth requires courage. You must be willing to see uncomfortable truths, to challenge deeply ingrained beliefs, and to let go of identities that no longer serve you. But the reward is immense. More authentic relationships, a deeper understanding of yourself, and the ability to love from a place of freedom rather than need. Why do you always end up in the same type of relationships? The answer lies in your subconscious. The patterns you repeat over and over are not mere coincidences. They are signals that something within you needs healing. For example, if you are always drawn to people whose connection with you brings suffering, it is because there is an emotional wound that needs your attention. Or if you constantly seek relationships that make you feel important, it is because there is a part of you that does not feel inherently valuable. Today, you will learn how to recognize these patterns and break the cycle to create healthier, more conscious connections. Because until you do, you will continue attracting relationships that do not truly fulfill you. Toxic emotional patterns are like invisible cycles that repeat with mathematical precision in your life. You may change your partner, but the dynamic remains the same. This phenomenon is neither a curse nor bad luck. It is the result of deep-seated programming operating from your subconscious, guiding your choices without your awareness. This programming is usually formed in childhood when you learned what love means and how relationships function. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional on performance, you will likely find yourself constantly seeking approval in your adult relationships. And if affection was always accompanied by criticism, you may only feel comfortable in dynamics that include a certain level of conflict. The famous phrase, "What is familiar is mistaken for what is safe," explains why we repeat harmful patterns. Your mind is programmed to seek what is known, even if what is known causes you pain. This is why many people leave a toxic relationship only to enter another that is strikingly similar. The first step to breaking these patterns is developing self-awareness. Observe your romantic history as if it were a movie. What are the recurring patterns? Do you always end up feeling abandoned? Are you drawn to emotionally unavailable people? Do you tend to lose your identity in relationships? These repetitions are not coincidences. They are clues pointing to specific emotional wounds. Behind every toxic pattern lies a limiting belief. If you consistently attract people who betray you, it is likely that you have an internal belief that you do not deserve loyalty. If you are always in relationships that make you feel trapped, you may have an unconscious belief that you are incapable of managing your own life. These beliefs act like magnets, attracting experiences that confirm them. Neuroscience teaches us that these patterns are not merely psychological phenomena, but also neurological. You have created strong neural pathways through repetition, and breaking these circuits requires continuous awareness and the deliberate creation of new experiences that contradict your habitual patterns. One effective exercise is identifying your emotional triggers, the specific situations that provoke disproportionate reactions. Perhaps a slight delay from your partner triggers a deep fear of abandonment, or maybe an offhand comment about your appearance awakens a profound sense of insecurity. These triggers are windows into your core emotional wounds. Healing begins when you take responsibility for your patterns. This does not mean blaming yourself, but rather acknowledging your role in creating and sustaining these cycles. As long as you see yourself as a victim of circumstances or other people, you will remain stuck in repetition. The power to change arises only when you take responsibility. Breaking patterns requires reconnecting with your body. Emotional addictions operate similarly to other addictions. There are physical signals that precede compulsive behaviors. Learn to notice how your body feels when you are drawn to something toxic. Is there an intense rush, a false sense of security, a familiar feeling of comfort? This awareness gives you the opportunity to consciously choose what is healthy instead of acting out of habit. A crucial step in this journey is setting clear boundaries both with others and with yourself. If you know that you tend to lose your identity in relationships, establish rituals that keep you connected to yourself. If you are drawn to people with narcissistic traits, clearly define the behaviors you will not tolerate. Boundaries are acts of self-love that break cycles of self-harm. Real change happens when you dare to choose the new, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. If you have always been drawn to drama and emotional intensity, a calm and stable relationship may initially seem boring. This discomfort is natural. You are creating new neural pathways and new forms of emotional connection. Remember that breaking patterns is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. There will be moments of relapse and temptations to return to the familiar. But each time you recognize the pattern and choose something different, you reinforce your new path. Neuroplasticity is on your side with every new choice. You are literally rewiring your brain. The ultimate goal is not to achieve perfection in relationships, but to reach a level of awareness that allows you to choose freely. When you are no longer at the mercy of unconscious programming, you can create relationships that reflect your present truth, rather than the wounds of your past. At that point, you can love not from a place of lack or necessity, but from a place of wholeness and freedom. True love is not something you find, but something you create. When you love yourself unconditionally, love stops being something you seek and becomes something you are. This is the session that will change everything, because until you understand this, you will continue searching externally for something that can only be found within. Love is not something you give or receive. It is something you become. And when you live from this perspective, your relationships stop being a source of suffering and instead become a reflection of who you truly are. Because love is not a destination, it is a path. We have been taught that love is something external, a force that finds us if we are lucky enough. This romantic narrative, though beautiful, places us in a position of passivity and dependence. We wait to be chosen, to be seen, to be loved. But this perspective misrepresents the true nature of love. Real love springs from within you like a fountain. It is not something you must extract from another person. When you rely on external sources to experience love, you create a pattern of perpetual lack, as if you were a vessel with holes. You will never be able to fill yourself up because love that comes from the outside is always temporary, conditional, and limited by the capacity of the other person. The real transformation happens when you realize that you are the primary source of your emotional experience. You do not need permission to love yourself, nor do you need qualifications or labels. Self-love is not a reward you earn when you become enough. It is your inherent right, your natural state. When you remove the barriers you have built against yourself, practicing unconditional self-love becomes a revolutionary act in a world that has taught you to measure your worth based on your productivity, appearance, or achievements. Loving yourself means honoring yourself when you fail, just as much as when you succeed. Speaking to yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend, and recognizing your intrinsic worth independent of any external validation. The more you cultivate this loving relationship with yourself, the more your external relationships transform. You no longer approach others from a place of need or emptiness, but from fullness. You no longer seek in others something you lack, but instead give generously from the abundance within you. The beautiful paradox is that when you stop desperately chasing love, you become more capable of experiencing it deeply. Your relationships become spaces for growth, not for completion. You no longer look for someone to make you happy, but rather share the happiness you have already created. You no longer expect others to heal you, though you may grow alongside them. You no longer depend on someone to make you feel valuable, though you celebrate the value they see in you. This transformation changes the nature of your attraction to others. When you operate from a place of lack, you are drawn to people who reflect your unhealed wounds. But when you operate from fullness, you are drawn to people who reflect your wholeness, who vibrate at the frequency of your self-love. This is the difference between addiction-based attraction and harmony-based attraction. Practicing self-love is not narcissism. In fact, it is the complete opposite. Narcissism stems from deep insecurity, from an inner emptiness that constantly seeks to be filled from the outside. True self-love, on the other hand, arises from recognizing and honoring your full humanity, allowing you to see others with clarity and compassion, because you no longer project your unmet needs onto them. One transformative practice is mindful self-compassion. When difficult emotions arise, fear, sadness, anger, or shame, instead of judging or suppressing them, embrace them as part of your humanity, not as flaws to be eliminated. This radical acceptance changes your relationship with your inner experience and consequently with the external world. Remember that love is not a destination to reach, but a daily practice. There will be days when it is hard to love yourself, days when old self-criticism returns. Do not despair. Every moment of awareness is an opportunity to choose love again. And every time you reconcile with yourself after a moment of disconnection, you strengthen your capacity for true love. The greatest paradox that when you stop searching for love as something you lack, you realize it was always there, like a fish desperately looking for the ocean while already swimming in it. You have been surrounded by love all along. Your task is not to find it, but to recognize it, allow it, and express it. This is the secret that sages and mystics have revealed across the ages. Love is not something you do, it is something you are. And when you live from this understanding, every relationship, every encounter, and every moment becomes an expression of your loving essence, which is your deepest truth. Love is not a reward given to those who are enough. It is a state that is born when you fully accept yourself, with all your light and shadows. No one will love you the way you can love yourself, and that is the key. When you understand this, love stops being a search and becomes an expression of your being. If this video has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you want to continue deepening your journey of inner transformation, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Remember, love is not something you find, it is something you build. And this journey begins today. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, my family.